Okay, let's unpack this. Today, we're doing a deep dive into a really powerful source. It's a short story. It feels more like a parable, actually. It's called The Rain That Fell Between Them.
Hmm.
And it's followed by this reflection titled The Love That Doesn't Speak. So our mission today isn't just, reading the story.
Right.
We want to really get into the emotional landscape, feel that quietness, that ache, and then the reconciliation. Explore how love works, even after years of silence. I'm really curious what we'll find here.
Yeah, what's truly fascinating, I think, is how something seemingly simple, this short narrative, can hold so much truth. It's
Yeah,
about family, pride, affection that lasts.
definitely.
We'll be looking at the quiet bits, the things not said, the gestures, those moments that shift everything,
Yeah.
for the characters and hopefully for you listening too.
Okay, so the story kicks off with a situation that immediately feels heavy. There's this young woman, and she makes a really difficult choice.
A life choice.
Yeah, she marries someone her father just completely disapproves of. You can feel that tension right away.
Oh, absolutely.
And the father, he's described as proud and stubborn. He sees her choice as, well, the story says, a betrayal.
Which is a strong word. It's not just disagreement.
No, it's deep. A real rupture in the family. And then it gets worse. The marriage ends in divorce a few years later,
Right.
which the text says deepened the wound, made that rift even bigger. Almost seems like there's no coming back from it.
And the result of that deepened wound, it's immediate and frankly devastating. The source says, the silence between father and daughter grew louder with time.
Oof, grew louder. That phrasing really hits, doesn't it?
It does. It's not just quiet. It's like this active oppressive thing, like a wall built brick by brick,
Yeah,
Hurt, resentment,
pride.
definitely pride. And even though they live in the same town, they become strangers. The story is really clear. No longer spoke, no longer shared meals, and no longer looked into each other's eyes.
Wow.
It's not just drifting apart. It's a deliberate cutting off, an emotional exile they both seem to enforce. Which makes you wonder, how deep can pride cut? How long can it keep family apart, even when they're physically close?
It's agonizing to think about that level of disconnect.
Yeah.
So after this divorce, life throws her another curveball. She ends up back in her childhood town, maybe even the same neighborhood.
Right, the story brings her back.
And it describes her returning alone now, except for a small child clinging to her side. Just that image, vulnerability, but also, wow, courage.
A quiet strength there.
And life is just hard. The source really spells it out. She worked tirelessly to make ends meet, stretching every coin, skipping meals to make sure her son had enough.
It's heartbreaking.
It is. It's not just about money. It's the exhaustion, the emotional weight of it all, plus this massive silent rift with her father. That's a lot to carry.
And this is where the mother steps in. Her role is, well, it's pivotal, but so quiet, so understated.
Yeah, almost behind the scenes.
Exactly. The source says she's watching quietly from behind the curtains, just watching her daughter struggle. And she couldn't bear it.
Understandable.
Her love for both of them, daughter and grandson, pushes her to do something. But gently. She has to navigate her husband's pride, right?
Right. Can't just force it.
So her suggestion is almost hesitant, like a whisper. Your father goes out for a walk every afternoon. Why don't you bring the little one over then, just for a warm meal? He won't be home.
Oh, wow.
It's brilliant, really. If you think about it, the mother becomes this silent mediator, this bridge builder.
Using compassion, not confrontation.
Precisely. Prioritizing care, basic needs, food, warmth over the conflict, creating this tiny safe space where maybe healing can start, even if it's just with a bowl of soup and a carefully timed absence.
It's such a subtle act of, resistance against that silence, isn't it?
It really is.
And the daughter, she hesitates. Of course she does. It must feel so awkward going back under those conditions.
The pain is still there, yeah.
Yeah. But the story says hunger and a mother's open arms are powerful forces. You feel that pull, that need for comfort, for just a moment of warmth.
Desperation, maybe.
Yeah. So the very next afternoon, as her dad's footsteps fade, she does it. Goes through the gate, holding her son's hand, and inside. It's just what she needed.
The description is lovely.
The kitchen smelled of comfort. Rice steamed, soup bubbled, and her mother greeted her with the same softness as always, as though no silence had ever come between them. It's like the first tiny crack in that wall.
That unconditional welcome. And this starts something, doesn't it? A secret routine.
Yeah, a quiet routine.
The story says every few days when the father went on his walk, the daughter and her child would return to the home that once held her laughter.
But it's fragile.
Definitely clandestine.
They never stayed long, never left traces, and always left before the footsteps returned. So she's balancing needing help, accepting that love from her mom.
While still respecting the tension. Avoiding the direct conflict with her dad. Exactly. But then, despite all that secrecy, the story gives us this line. It's so important. But love leaves traces, whether spoken or not.
Ah, yes. That's beautiful.
Isn't it? It suggests that even without words, without interaction between father and daughter, something is still happening. Hope, connection. It's being nurtured somehow.
Yeah, like son.
In the silence, love is still there, doing its quiet work, maybe preparing the ground for something more. It shows how strong those family bonds can be, even under the shadow of pride.
Love leaves traces. That just hangs in the air, doesn't it? And it perfectly sets up the turning point, the moment those traces become, well, impossible to ignore.
A climax.
Yeah. The narrative builds the tension so well. The weather changes suddenly. The sky broke open with rain. Thunder grumbled low. You feel the mood shift.
Like an external reflection of the internal storm.
Exactly. And the daughter gets caught out. She's rushing, hurried through the downpour, her child tucked tightly under her arm, their clothes soaked by the time they reach the gate. You feel her panic, just needing shelter.
That raw need.
And then she gets to the yard, and everything just stops.
This is the moment.
It really is. There, standing under the awning, drenched and holding an umbrella he clearly hadn't used, was her father.
Wow. Just
Wow.
the visual.
Shattering. Right. Time stops. The daughter froze. Her son looked up at the unfamiliar face. This isn't accidental. It feels intentional.
Absolutely.
The story emphasizes this. The father, who had spent years pretending he didn't care, now stood face to face with the very thing he had missed the most. He's exposed by the rain, yes, but also emotionally.
That facade just crumbles.
Gone.
And that umbrella, the unused umbrella, that's not just a detail, is it?
No way. It's huge.
For years, pride was his umbrella, right?
Yep.
Keeping him emotionally dry. Now he literally puts aside the physical umbrella. He chooses to get wet.
He chooses to be vulnerable for them.
Yes, it mirrors that internal shift. He's not just there. He's there, drenched, having made a choice. It makes you really think, what does it take? What internal battle happens for someone to finally break that kind of silence?
Years of it.
Years. It suggests that deep down, the need for connection, his love for them, finally just overwhelmed the pride.
So in that moment, soaked and face to face, he has a choice again.
A critical choice.
The story spells it out. He could have turned away, could have walked past, could have let the silence speak again, and the habit must have been so strong.
The easy path, in a way.
But he doesn't take it. He looks at her, and the description is perfect. Awkward and unsure. You feel his struggle, that pride versus everything else.
The internal battle isn't quite over, maybe?
No, but something shifts. He clears his throat. Such a small sound, but it feels huge.
It's a signal.
And then he speaks. Not an apology, not directly, but it's an offering, a bridge.
What did you say?
He says next time, and he says this without meeting her eyes, which feels so real, still grappling with that pride.
Right, still hard for him.
You don't have to sneak around. Just come. It's not good for me to walk in heavy rain like this, just so you can eat. And then, just like that, without waiting for a response, he walked inside. No big scene, but it's everything, isn't it?
It is everything. And you're right, it's not a Hollywood apology, and that's why it works. It feels true.
Yeah.
The words are awkward, he avoids eye contact, but the message is crystal clear. It's love, it's concern, it's an end to the pretense.
The sneaking around is over.
Exactly. And he frames it as his inconvenience. It's not good for me.
But we know, don't we? We know his getting wet is nothing compared to wanting them safe, fed, and home.
Actions louder than words, even when the words are finally there.
Absolutely. It's love winning out over pride. It's that first brick coming out of the wall. It's the love that doesn't speak, finally, speaking in its own quiet way.
And the daughter's reaction, she just stood still for a long moment, heart full of things she couldn't say. She doesn't need to say them.
The understanding is there. It's palpable.
Yeah. And the rain softens, the story notes, like the tension easing. Her son tugs her hand, bringing her back.
Grounding her. And then that final image, simple, but so warm. Inside the house, a bowl of rice was waiting. So was her father.
Ah, full circle.
It's not just about food anymore. It's belonging. Homecoming. It perfectly captures that reflection piece, the love that doesn't speak.
It really does. That reflection just ties it all together so beautifully. It says, there is a kind of love that doesn't shout. Sometimes it's quiet, hidden in the way a father avoids eye contact but leaves the umbrella by the door.
Which is exactly what we saw.
Exactly. And it continues. It's tucked inside the mother's warm soup and found in a kitchen that's always open, even when the heart is bruised. It nails the idea that love finds ways. Through quiet care, through presence.
Even when communication breaks down.
Even then, the reflection makes that crucial point. Parents don't stop loving their children just because they've been hurt. Pride may silence them, but love never leaves.
Love never leaves.
It can wait, sometimes for years, just for a small moment, a brief glance in the rain to show itself again. It speaks to how resilient those family bonds can be, you know?
It really does. And that's why this matters, why you listening should care about this quiet love. Maybe it's a nudge, to look for those subtle things in your own life.
Especially with family.
Especially with family, where things can be so complex, deeper than words sometimes. Maybe a small kindness or just someone being there was actually saying a lot more than we realized at the time.
What little things might be speaking volumes?
Yeah.
Because the message here, I think, is ultimately hopeful. It's that no matter how far we go, or what mistakes we think we've made, or how long the silence lasts, home, in some essential way, remains.
And the people there.
And the people there often love us more than their own pride. It's about the potential for forgiveness, for coming back together, even when it seems impossible.
So maybe something to think about as you go about your day. What are the unspoken connections in your life? What quiet messages of love might you be sending or receiving without really noticing?
And how might seeing those change things?
How might recognizing those quiet gestures change how you feel about the relationships that matter most to you? Something to mull over.